Hello, hello.
Hello, it's Gary Salo.
Hey, this is Christopher Parham here. It's nice to be able to talk with you. Thanks for entertaining my call here.
So how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Like I said, I'm trying to start this, I wouldn't say a revolution. Somebody already did a podcast before, but they put a lot of production value into it. And, between the editing and all of that, they kind of abandoned it. But I'm just kind of, I don't want to set a strict guideline. I just want it to flow naturally for us, and it's slowly taking off. I'm getting some views where some people are listening to the entire cast, and some of it's getting quite lengthy, but it's a lot of information in it. Whether it's useful
Sure.
information to help you build your bike or just anything EV related. We try to stay on topic at least as far as that. But I'm
Right.
going after vendors, going after people making bikes. Some of the people that are really vocal on the forum. Just trying to give something to the people to listen to. While they're in traffic or whatever. So, but
Yeah.
just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with being a Golden Motor dealer.
Well, the story is on my website. I wrote it some time ago. It's in 2009. I was surfing the web, as we all do, and I was looking for something to go green. Save a few bucks on hydro, whatever. And I saw about fans, how you could generate electricity and solar panels. I ordered an e-bike from China. I was looking for something to go green, and I found e-bikes, and I found these scooters on the internet. I wasn't too thrilled with them. And then I saw the Golden Motor website where they showed bicycles that had motors on them. And I thought that was fantastic. And I was riding my bike a lot at the time. And I'm getting on in my years, and my right side, I have a bad hip and knee and all that. And anyway, I ordered a bike kit from Golden Motor in China, and it took about 7 weeks to get it. And they said it would be 3 to 5 days. They still say that on their website today. So I was rocking in a chair wondering, oh my God, where I sent my $1,000, is it ever going to come?
Yeah,
And I read so much about it and did so much research in the 7 weeks of waiting that I learned a lot about it. And I thought, my God, I'd really like to do this as a part-time business when I retire, you know.
yeah,
And I was only 50 years old at the time, or 49. I am getting on in my years. What can I say? So I planned on looking for something maybe 10 years down the road. When I'm 60, I'll retire and I'll sell e-bikes. So when I got my e-bike in the mail, finally, I was so thrilled with it. I was completely overwhelmed. I was zooming down the street. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I thought, right there, I got to do this. This is fantastic. So, then I sent my application into Golden Motor to be a dealer. And of course, they're willing, to take your money and make you a dealer. It's no problem. Just sign up, right?
they're
All
willing
you
to
got to
do
do is send them $5,000 and you're in, right?
yeah, they're willing
Yeah.
to do anything with a minimal order quantity.
Yeah. So then I did that, and then I ordered it. I sent them my money, and again they said, oh, in a month you'll have your shit by now. And maybe 3 or 4 months down the road, I'm still waiting, right? And I'm going, oh my God. So again, I'm researching on the internet, and I find out that at the time that Golden Motor was the worst company you could ever imagine to deal with about e-bikes, because they never warranted anything. If you bought anything and you had a problem, too bad, and all this stuff. And I thought, oh my God, what did I do? And then I talked about it with my wife. And when my stuff finally came, I thought, you know what? If anybody has a problem with this stuff, I'm going to fix it. And I went to the Golden Motor forum, and there was like hundreds of people talking about how they had ordered stuff and they can't get any help and how it had died and all that. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to deal with that? So I thought, I'm just going to make it so that if anybody has a problem with anything, let me know, and I'll help you out. So I went to the forum and I said, tell me what you bought, give me your invoice number and tell me what your problem is, and I'll contact Golden Motor.
Yeah,
And I did that for a few people, and all of a sudden those people got help. And and then I started to realize that most of the people in that forum that were posting this stuff were being untruthful. They were just other dealers that wanted to badmouth Golden Motor, just jump on the bandwagon.
oh man,
And sure enough, there was issues, right? but not at all as what it had seemed. So at that point, after solving like so many issues for people, some of the members that are long-term members, they drew a little caricature of me with a cape, and they called me Super Gary, you know. So that's still my character today. You may see it on the web there somewhere, you know. And, but anyway, I just started helping people out. And, you know, I drive a truck for a living, a 30-year career truck driver. And I did this part-time for 6 years. And now I retired from truck driving 10 years early, and I'm taking it on full-time.
Man,
so things have grown.
That's an awesome plan. I mean, it just kind of, you fell into it, and I mean, like I said, you caught that bike fever, and you put your mind behind it 100%, and it seems like it's paying off for you.
Well, over the years, you know, a few people tried to scam me, and you know, they even posted on ES, Endless Sphere, of course, and in the Golden Motor forums, you know, people would return an empty box to me, of all things, or a box with an old wheel in it, and tell PayPal they returned the product and they want their money back, you know. And I had to deal with a lot of things like that, you know. But I've developed a system for beating all that now anyway. I've made anyone that tried to make me look bad look like a fool. So I hate to say it that way, but it is true, you know.
And even with me, I mean, I deal with, I sell RC power supplies, like for the RC enthusiasts, and you know, I had to create ways to nip a lot of things in the bud where they'll say something is wrong, and I'm like, well, if something's wrong, destroy it, and I'll send out another one, and all of a sudden they disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, I've said to people before, take a picture of what the problem is, smash it with a sledgehammer, and take another picture, and I'll send you another one, and you'd never get it.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, I hate to say that's the way some people are, but I mean, this is when you have do-it-yourself e-bikes, you take on a lot of responsibility, whether it's good or bad. But I mean, I gotta admit, the Golden Motor system is pretty much one of the, especially with your installation video, it's pretty foolproof, other than something that might have happened in shipping or something.
When I got into this, I didn't know anything about e-bikes, and I had to learn. And it was a difficult road because you sell something to someone and they expect you to know how it works, you know. And it took a while to, you know, get it all together. I'm still not a real technical guy, but I can tell you when something's not working, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a huge learning curve. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, at least like if you have a truly well-made kit, the connectors go to the other connector, and it's only one connector that it can go to. And it's like I said, it's really hard for it to mess up. But when I first got into things, I didn't go the kit route. I kind of I went and bought the motor here and the controller over here, so I had a learning curve on what these wire colors meant, what's 5 volts, what's signal, what's ground, what are halls and how they work and all of that. So it took me a huge learning curve to figure that out. And you know, and it's like even now, like I still buy my stuff, you know, certain components from here, certain components from here, but I've come a long way. Like even when it comes to crimping connectors for those little bitty hall wires, you evolve and you pick up stuff as you get deeper.
That takes practice, eh?
yeah, even with the crimper, it's still a chore.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like honestly, my first motor was a Wilderness Energy brushed motor. And that lasted 6 months because I got the fever and I wanted to go faster, so I burnt the brushes out, and it got to a point where I couldn't locate brushes. But my first brushless motor was a Golden motor. It was the 901, I believe. It was either the 901 or the 902.
You can't kill those old motors, those old 901s.
Yeah, I mean, and I think those were like a fast line at 48 volt. I was like doing like 35 miles an hour. I was just like, I was loving it, you know. So a Golden motor has like a place in my heart because that was like the first reliable motor that I had, and I pretty much burnt all the. I mean, I ran that thing hot, you know, and I even went to the modding side of things. So, I mean, it seems like
I have a real close friend that has a trike, you know, like a grocery getter, you know, a granny type trike. And that's just all he wants. You know, he uses it for walking his dog and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But he put one of those 901 motors on the front, and that was before we even had Magic Pies.
Yeah.
And he still drives it today. And he doesn't put a cover over it or anything. It covers the snow in the winter, and it rains on it all summer, you know? And he takes the battery inside when he's not using it. That's it.
I mean, but one of the things, Golden Motor has evolved as a company, and even when it comes to their components, because like I said, they started out, you know, I purchased this motor before they had the Pi out. So,
right.
So I had that black regenerative controller that everybody hates.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like ragging on the company, but I had it. It worked, but it felt very unnatural. And then I switched over to the smaller gray one, like the index.
Yeah, the square, the Magic controller. Yeah, yeah. That's when I came into the company. Is when we come up with those.
Yeah, and so that was definitely interesting. And but I mean, I'm liking where at least the controllers are a lot more reliable, and it's all one unit. It's pretty ingenious. You know, whether as long as you're running it at its intended configuration, they pretty much are bulletproof. You know, but yeah, like when I bought a Magic Pi 2 from you without the controller, and again, I ran that motor for like almost 2 seasons and hot rodded, and I loved it. It develops a lot of torque. Now, like, what
did that one have an internal controller or an external controller?
No, I ended up using an external controller, controller. So that was
people run that motor at 115 volts or 110 volts and whatever. They go crazy with it. They go 70 miles an hour. All kinds of weird stuff with that motor, eh?
But
and you can't kill it, eh?
Yeah, it's a solid motor. I loved it. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I can't.
Well, that's what they're all based on, is that solid motor, right? They had to change the side to get the controller in the way it is now, right?
Yeah.
But so it's got one big bearing on one side, right? But they, you know, even the early bearings were a little shaky. So I heard I only ever had one guy with a bearing issue of all Magic Pies. And people say, oh, they got bad bearings. Yeah, well, who are these people with the bad bearings? You know, I've sold more of these things than anybody. Who are we talking about? You know?
Honestly, the issue, I had one issue with the bearing, and it wasn't a bad bearing. I mean, I went ahead and put SKF bearings in just to eliminate that issue, but the problem that I slightly had was the axle was slightly under. The OD was slightly under, so there was a slight knocking, but it didn't affect it at all. Because, like I said, I abused the hell out of it, and but like I said, mine might have been a one-off. But like I said, I'm glad that I caught the second generation of the Magic Pi 2, where they corrected the lacing issue.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? People don't understand that either. You know, that is something that I still get questions about all the time. Is the first Magic Pies, they had the really crisscross pattern of the lacing of the wheel.
Oh, that was.
And they had the heavier spokes too, right?
Yeah.
And we broke so many spokes, it was unbelievable. It was just crazy. And then they come out with the pattern of the spokes now, which is more relaxed. It's still one cross, but it's more relaxed.
Yeah.
And the spokes are a thinner gauge. And now it's like one guy in 100 has a couple loose spokes, so they're not taking care of the wheel when they get started, you know?
Yeah.
You got to check it. Sometimes they come out of the factory and, you know, the thing is spoked by a machine. You know, there's a good video actually about it, how this thing is spoked. It blows your mind how it's done. But, you know, the spoke issues are so rare now, and that's with thinner spokes, which, you know, I found hard to believe at first too, but I know by warranting these things, how much of an improvement it's been, you know, and most people don't believe it. They think, oh no, you need something really thick and strong and that, but you got no flex, you know.
Honestly, like, and I'm a true believer in the smaller gauge spoke. When you have, I wouldn't say a master wheel lacer, like I have a trusted bike shop that's open to servicing my e-bikes, and so there was this one guy, his name was Joseph in there, and whenever I brought a hub motor in, he's like, you know how you normally, like, you lace a wheel, ride it for like 50, 100 miles, and then get that final tension set on it?
Yeah.
He was able to do all of this in one sitting. Like, he would lace it up, tension it, and then he would like put it on the floor and put his weight on it, turn it, put his weight on it, turn it, flip it over,
Yeah.
do the same thing, and put it back in the stand and retension, and you'll do that 3 or 4 times. And every wheel that I've had from him was bulletproof. And there was like only
Yeah.
maybe 1 or 2 times where he might have to adjust the spokes, but after that first retention, they were they were solid. I never had any get loose, any
Oh
break,
yeah.
or anything like that. And
Yeah.
so,
I could build them solid myself. I never knew how to lace a wheel, and I always thought anybody that could do that was a freaking genius, right? And
yeah,
then one day I had to, because I was doing a build over a weekend, my
uh-huh.
own bike, and there was a problem, and I had to lace a wheel. It's in one of my threads somewhere on my website. But anyway, I had to lace a wheel. I thought, what am I going to do here? So I went up to YouTube. Of course, where else are you going to go, right? And I found this guy that showed how to lace just a regular bicycle wheel. And I use his links to refer other people. And within 2 hours of seeing that video, I had stripped down a wheel and laced one. It was perfect. I couldn't believe how good I had done at it and how simple it was. And now, I've done,
Now,
I don't know,
if I have
100.
to, I was gonna say there's very rare instances where I have to relace the wheel, and of course I'll use appropriate calculators and all of that. And I did the same thing. I went on YouTube, found somebody that knew how to, basically learned how to lace the wheel, but I kind of do mine slightly different where normally, this is, like I said, this is just my preference on how I lace my wheels. Instead of going over, like, how the spokes cross over each other,
Right.
instead, like, there's a relaxed lacing pattern, and then there's one where it actually kind of slightly bows the spoke, whereas you're kind of preloading it, and
Yeah.
it makes for a stronger wheel. So you like look at the wheel and you see the spokes aren't exactly perfect, but wherever they cross over the neighboring spoke, there's a slight bow, but it makes for a super stiff wheel.
Right.
But that's how I lace my wheels. Some people just do it the regular cross where they're just lightly
I
touching.
got one method I learned from that video, and it gets me through it every time. You know what the secret to lacing the wheel is? You got to have an hour and 2 beer, and you sit down and you relax, and you'll do a perfect job every time.
I totally agree with that. You really can't rush through it, and
Yeah.
still after lacing it, I have got to the point where I true my own wheels, but I would definitely get the lacing done, and then the shop was like, "Who did this?" I'm like, "I'm impressed," and
Oh yeah.
they'll just
I
finish it
replace
off.
spokes on the road if I have to. It's you just do what you need to. I know if I change a spoke on the road, because I'm riding in the bush for 10 miles or whatever. If I
Yeah,
change a spoke when I have a problem, then I'm not going to have any more problems.
yeah.
If I let it go 5 miles and I go over a couple good bumps, man, I could have a couple loose, and then I got a problem. Right?
Yeah, you start having a clinking noise and those.
Yeah,
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 but it's still like, if it's laced right the first time, you will never have a problem. And I got multiple seasons out of
yeah.
wheel, and I have to replace now one spoke. So I mean, that's a good thing, to have that skill and talent. And like I said, I'm glad that Golden Motor finally revised that spoke hole pattern to where we still have the crossover.
You know what I'm glad about? I'm sure you probably realize it is the controllers.
Uh,
When we first came out with the Magic Pi 2, we had that internal controller encased in that hot metal case,
yeah.
and they pop like popcorn. When I sold the last internal Magic Pi 2, I had a party. Trust me. But yeah, oh man, what a nightmare that was.
I mean,
And then the Magic Pi 3 come out, and it wasn't bad. We were down to maybe I don't know how I can't even think of what the failure rate would be, but it was reasonable, tolerable, right? But if someone's controller popped, it was still understandable. It happens, right?
yeah.
And then they come out with these SynWave controllers or sine wave controllers, and oh my God, it's an amazing thing. They're silent, and you look at the technology on, like, I don't know anything about the electronics of it, but when you look at that board compared to the original Magic Pi 2 boards, it's like night and day. It's so impressive.
It's a revision. They looked at it and how can we make it better. So I mean,
Yeah,
when you learn from your mistakes, like I said, everything from the cooling, trying to get that built-in
well,
internal fan for
that's
cooling.
Golden Motor doesn't stop improving their stuff, which I am so impressed with. The
Yeah,
improvement stuff is continuous. It's amazing. I even have, I'll say it, I even have another announcement coming up soon. There's just always more stuff. But anyway, But these controllers, people say, I need a controller for my Magic Pi 4. And I go, well, we're up to Magic Pi 5 now. So, you just got to upgrade the controller and you can have a 5. And they go, well, no, I want the 4. And I go, okay, well, which controller do you need? They go, I want the controller 4. I said, well, there's 4 different versions of controller number 4. So which one do you need? So it never stops. And they go, well, why did it change 4 times for one version? I go, it changes constantly. They're always improving, Every batch, they have something a little better about it, eh?
I mean, that's a good thing. But like I said, I like all the warnings that you have on your site. Don't go above this voltage. I mean, and, already if you say XYZ happened, I already know what happened, and your warranty is void. So you you can't pull a fast one on me,
Well, if you're talking about warranty, there's no one that can say that I didn't take care of them when they had a problem. There's no one that can be honest about that. And that's why I'm doing so well, And, like you were saying, I'm, the largest Golden Motor dealer in, like, North America or whatever.
Yeah.
You go click on the other Golden Motor sites, and there's nobody there,
Yeah. Because I dealt with the guy in Arizona.
The guys over in Europe that are supposed to be, at the same level as I am or whatever, that claim to have, all these employees standing in front of buildings and that, they sell all kinds of stuff. They don't just sell the Golden Motor stuff, right?
Yeah.
I sell Golden Motor stuff, and I sell the stuff from Grin, because Grin makes good stuff.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, and that's it.
I mean, it's just when you sell, I mean, like I said, yeah, in the beginning, things were a little bit shaky, but you've come along. I mean, Golden Motor's come a long way, and that allows you to stand a lot firmer and a lot more confident as a seller,
Well, my contract with them now is phenomenal. So that's why, I'm good for a long time. That's why I gave up the day job, because I'm their guy here. And, I hate to just say it like that, but recently in the last few years, my input on what should be in these motors is really coming through. At the beginning, they would say, oh, yeah, Gary. Oh, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Yeah. But now I tell them, look, this is the way we need this stuff. The thing I'm pushing through right now is the wire harnesses. We need this wire harness to be completely enclosed up with a plug for everything that you could ever want to put on it. Yeah. Why are people still stripping wires and plugging stuff in,
Yeah,
So the beginning of the new wire harness just came out with these Magic Pi 5s, and that's going to improve over time too, right? And if there's anything you want to add on your bike, you just get it and you plug it in.
I didn't like the controller where you had the glorified spade terminals. Yeah, they were kind of color coded, but it's just a piss poor connection.
Yeah.
And was it the BAC controllers or something?
The Magic controllers, the external controllers?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Those things go forever. Those things are rock solid, man. Like I've sold, I'm not kidding, thousands of those. And I've probably replaced a dozen. Like, they are rock solid controllers. The only thing about those controllers is they run hot, so they got to breathe, And if they're not going to breathe, they shut down on you, and then you got to wait for 10 minutes for it to come back on.
And that's you can't say that about a lot of other controllers. I wish, of course, I've been a Fenian fanboy, and you get those things hot, they just release the magic smoke. There's no shutting down. So
yeah.
At least they have the technology in there to where they protect themselves, especially if it's going to be especially with the internal ones. If you're going to have something enclosed in a motor that's generating heat itself, it's you got to have some fail safe or something, to shut things down.
The fact that the motor shuts down to protect itself is a brilliant thing. Like, well, why would it continue to run if it's going to fail? So, it was definitely an improvement. Like the beginning of those square controllers, the Magic controllers, those used to, when they got too hot, would just fry. But now then when they went to the version 2 of them, which was quite some time ago, at least 4 or 5 years ago, they made them shut down when they got hot, and that solved that problem. That's it. So when you're riding along and your controller shuts down on it, you go, hey, you know what? It's getting hot. So it's in a bag. You open the zipper on the bag, let the air get at it, and off you go.
Yeah, but still, sometimes with controller placement, it's all about common sense. So, I said, instead of it costing you, it just did a graceful bow. It bowed out gracefully, and when it cools down, it'll be there for you. I've been a firm believer. Like, of course, I like the psychoanalyst, and I always keep preaching about the psychoanalyst and the thermal limiting, to where at least it progressively pulls the power back, and then if you still dogging it out, then it will just pretty much give you no power until the temperature recovers to an appropriate level. But
Right.
so like I said, the golden motor is pretty much a hard cutoff.
Yeah.
The psychoanalyst does it a little bit more gracefully, where you can still limp around at reduced power, but
Yeah.
but like I said, some people you can't.
Psychoanalyst is a great thing, man. Great thing, the psychoanalyst. I have had a psychoanalyst on every bike I've had. I used to sell psychoanalysts when I would take it off a bike and sell it used. Forget that. I'm going to use it on another bike.
Yeah, I mean, they retain their value quite well, even used. So it's not like with most electrical items, you might as well mark it down by at least 50% because it's used. Now, psychoanalyst, that's a solid thing. It can be in the rain, sleet, snow, or whatever, and it still keeps ticking. So I can't complain about the psychoanalyst. But let's shift over towards the battery. Have
Sure.
battery technology improved since the earlier days of golden motors?
Well, I can definitely say some things about that. I've never sold sealed lead acid batteries, and I'm thankful for that because I've never heard anything good about them, other than the fact they're worth less money. When I got into this, they had just got into the lithium-ion batteries, and they're lithium manganese, really,
Yeah.
And they're the ones that come in the square packs that you put on the back of the bike. Everyone's seen them, right? And I sold a lot of those batteries, but had a lot of problems. And it was the chemistry. Lithium manganese, it just rots sitting on the shelf. And if you buy a battery in the fall and you let it sit over the winter, when spring comes, it's not no good anymore. It's already, some of the cells are bad, and
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that's more along the lines of the BMS. Well, we kind of nicknamed it the battery murdering system.
yeah.
But like you said, it's pretty much probably is killing the first few cells that the BMS used to operate, and so but they never leave it plugged in. But even Justin said you really shouldn't leave it plugged in, but you should at least top it off.
Yeah.
Every so often, but we're American. We don't believe in following the rules, even if it benefits.
No kidding. It's just so easy to just plug it in and worry about it later.
Yeah. So so did they change the chemistry? I think.
Well, now we go with LiFePO 4, right? And when those started to come, I had some of each. And I've sold a lot of batteries over 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
And I think about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I had finally sold, what was it, I think the number was 1,000 lithium ion and 1,000 LiFePO 4. And I went through all my tickets, and I looked at it, and I went through to see the failure rates. And I calculated out the failure rate. And if you had a problem with the battery and you were successful at repairing it, that's good. But if you were unsuccessful, then you failed, okay? And the failure rate from lithium manganese to LiFePO 4 was 52 to 1. So I stopped selling lithium manganese. I sell only LiFePO 4, and it is really worth it. And our batteries are made in these square cells with a little screw on tops. And if you ever have a bad cell, you just unscrew it and put another one in. It's so simple. There's none of that machine soldered cells and all that, that are in the LiFePO 4 or the lithium packs. Like even the Samsung packs that they talk about today for the triangular bags and that, that's a great idea. But can you really change those cells? I don't know.
It's not service.
I don't have experience with those.
What's the C rating? Is I'm seeing about 3C. Well,
it's on the website. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Well, it just depends on which cell. If it's the 6, 8, 10, or 12.
Yeah.
So
I don't know the real specs. That's not my thing. But
I mean, it seems like it's perfectly fine for your kit because, 36 amps max falls well within a Magic Pi with the
right.
controller.
Well, in my mind, every 1,000-watt motor you need a 10-amp battery. That's how I look at it. So I've had bikes with 3 motors. I don't know if you ever looked at my e-bikes on the website, the link on the top. But I have quite a few current bikes. One of them actually has 3 motors. And, you know, you got to have 10 amps for every motor, or you just draw the batteries down so low, eh? Like with the cycle analyst, you can see the voltage drop so far when you throttle hard, eh?
Yeah.
So if you have 10 amps for every 1,000 watts, then the voltage doesn't drop so much, you know?
And these are very clean bikes that I've seen, you know. I'm like I said, I'm looking at your website, looking at the mountain bike, the chopper. There's a step-through frame. There's a tandem, and then there's a
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, they all look very, very clean, and that's one of the major perks of the Magic Pies. You don't have a lot of wiring because all of it's pretty much condensed in the motor. You're just basically running it to the battery.
Well,
And
there's a secret to that, eh? And I'll let that secret out if you want to make a bike look clean, right? Well, there's two parts to it. One is everyone says you can do this in an hour to 2 hours. To me, that's bullshit. You want it to make it look nice, right?
yeah,
So you're not doing it in an hour to 2 hours. And the second, and the most important part of the secret, is you pick one side of the bike that you want to look nice, and you run all your wires in a way that you don't see them on that side.
yeah.
And then when you're taking pictures, you always take a picture of your bike from that side.
And I kind of, now that you mentioned it, I'm like, yeah, he's kind of right, you know. Oh man, that's funny. How does the Smart Pi handle? Because I was looking at that for a project for a customer.
Well, I make a lot of videos. I don't know if you've seen them, but one of them is the Smart Pi enough for me? And I took my wife's bike for a ride. It's a 24-inch mountain bike with a Smart Pi on it.
Yeah.
And I flew in that video, man. You should see it. And it is good. It'll top out the same as the Magic Pies do, but it's only 400 watts, and the Magic Pies are 1,000, eh? So you're definitely going to get there faster with the Magic Pi up to the speed, but they top out about the same.
Is that still technically a hub motor, or is it geared, or it's rather small?
No, it's a hub motor. It's direct drive. Yeah. All of the Pies are direct drive.
I mean, that's
And the Black Magic and.
How did it? I mean, I'm gonna get to the Black Magic in a second, but I mean, it just still like it's like I said, it almost has a smaller. I'm talking about the Smart Pi. It almost has like a smaller footprint than the
Yes.
like the
Yeah, I did when I did the release video for the Magic Pi 5, Smart Pi 5. Right at the beginning of it, I briefly held one over top of the other, and you can see the difference in the size of the motor. It's substantial. They both take the same controller, but the Smart Pi controller is set at 18 amps, and the Magic Pi controller is set at 25.
Oh, I didn't know the Magic Pi was actually set that high. I thought it was like they were all 18 amp. But I mean,
oh no, the Magic Pi's are 25.
They obviously have more mass and they can take that abuse. So I mean, I guess that kind of works out. But it's still, you know, in order for you to have a good first impression. I mean, I'm pretty sure wasn't the earlier Pies a little bit tame compared to the later versions now?
What the earlier versions of the Pies were?
How many amps were they?
Oh, how many amps were they? Well, Golden Motor has always claimed that they're 30 amps, but they never have been. There have always been 25 amps. Even the Magic Pi 2s with the external controller, I'm using that Magic controller, and you can see I'm getting 25 amps out of it in one of my videos there as well. And they've always been 25 amps since the Magic Pi 2, and maybe even before that. I wasn't measuring them before that, you know.
What was the main what's the main difference between the 901 and the Black Magic?
Well, the 901, the biggest problem with that motor was the way it sat in the rim. It's just a bad shape, and it's too wide. It's like a ball more than a pancake, you know. And the rim was always off to one side. So if you put it on your bike and you looked at the rim according to your frame, it would be like a half an inch over to one side. It would even be touching the frame on some bikes. And of course, you'd try and dish it some more to get it over, but you never could, right?
Yeah.
And that was the worst thing about the 901. And then also, the 901, you can't put a disc brake on it. And things like that. So it's just a bad design.
Yeah, mine was a front, so I typically didn't have that, but I'm pretty sure the older 901s, the rear, have that issue that you speak of.
Yes. So now the Black Magic is the same shape as the Magic Pi, and it's it's a black powdered black motor, and so it doesn't stand out. So when people want something that doesn't stand out, then that's good. I don't quite get that. People think that they're hiding their motor because it's flat black. To me, any bike I see that has an e-bike motor on it, I know that it's an e-bike motor, but maybe it's just because I'm in the business. But anyway, it's an external controller. It's very similar to the Magic Pi 2, except the Magic Pi 2 is much more of a heavier casted motor, whereas the Black Magic is a lighter, I don't know how to say what type of motor, but it's a lighter motor,
Yeah, it's a lighter motor because it has a stamped steel stator that's riveted together. The Magic Pi has a casted metal stator, so
Right.
it can heat sink a lot more. Like, whenever you have those surges of power, it can heat sink that down to the stator versus the two metal plates that are just riveted together that are poor conductors of heat. So that's the difference internally between the two. But
You've had it apart, or you've seen it apart?
I've seen it apart.
Really? You know what? You got to start doing tech support for me. Now you can start explaining it to people.
Yeah, man. It's funny. I have a friend, that does tech support for e-bike kit. But he stays in I think he stays in Arizona, and the company's in Pennsylvania, so he does all the chat support for that site. It's really interesting how that relationship works. But if, I know you're just kidding around, but it can be done. Actually,
well, when you're doing support, it's a lot of work. People don't think, they think I'm just going to buy 10 kits and I'm going to sell them, make a few bucks, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, it's definitely more involved. You got to have the patience and got to keep a level head, and you gotta think the best of the customer, and no matter how they sound or what they're saying or how they're getting on your nerves or how unintelligible or you gotta be cheerful about it,
Well, I try. I'll have to say I try. I'm not always as blunt as I could be with every single person, and I have to admit that, But some people are just difficult, and they're difficult from when they first call you,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it's tough, like you say, Usually you can tell a customer right from the beginning if they're going to be a customer that'll be difficult within just the first 10 seconds of talking to them.
Yeah.
Which may sound ridiculous, but it's absolutely true,
I mean, I totally agree. Even when I'm doing emails or getting calls or whatever,
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I got another question. Everything that's
Sure.
offered on your site, do you actually house it, even if it's just a one-off thing that you might not sell, or do you have to special order certain things like the big 10 kilowatt motors and stuff like that?
Lots of those. Yes, those are very popular.
I mean,
People use the 5 kilowatt ones for motorcycles, the 10 kilowatts for for small cars and that, And they use these for outboard motors and that too. Golden Motor has power outboard motors too, like for the back of your boat.
Yeah, I saw that. I was thinking that some of these are like special order, and
Well, the outboard motors and the complete e-bikes, I'm not going to have those in stock until spring, but people can order them through me, or they can order them directly from China. But it's the same price through me, and my not to pat my own back, but I'm a good person to deal with as opposed to dealing with the other side of the planet at times.
It's like I said, I like the amount of products that you offer, and of course, I wish the regular Golden Motor site would just go ahead and adopt your website, just mirror it over, because I find their website is hard to navigate sometimes. But everything on your website is nice, clean, clear. You know where everything is. Everything is straightforward. You have the chat. And I was actually, I was actually surprised that you responded to me rather quickly. So, it seems like,
Well, I'm 100% accessible, during the day. When I'm awake, I'm accessible. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me. You can go on my website and chat with me. You can see me on Facebook, wherever, Twitter, Pinterest. Instagram is a good one because you know what? I love Instagram. I don't know if you ever heard that it was on there or
Yeah.
not. But the thing about Instagram is it's 16 seconds, right? Like I've shot, I don't know, 100 videos, whatever. Right? Instagram is 16 seconds. So whatever you got to say, you got to wrap it up in 16 seconds. You hit upload and you're on your way again. Eh?
Yeah,
So it's really something. I love it. I do it when I'm riding my bike all the time. I ride my bike and it's such a wonderful experience. I think I'm just going to share this. And I just throw it out there on Instagram and it goes to Facebook and wherever else too, right? But it's great. I love Instagram.
Do you have any tips for anybody installing your kits or anything?
Patience.
Patience.
More than anything, patience. But you know what? I do all my builds on the picnic table in the backyard. You know, I just like the ambiance. You know, I like it's just relaxed. You hear the birds chirping. You know, you take your time. I built a lot of bikes, right? And I know you don't rush your way through it. That's for sure. And when you do build the bike, the best advice really is to test it before you put it on the bike. Make sure it works.
Oh, yeah, that's a very salty feeling where you done did all this work just for it to just move a quarter of an inch, and that's
right.
it, you know.
Well, you know what the best part about testing it before you put it on the bike is if you test it before you put it on the bike, you know it works. And then when you put it on the bike and it doesn't work, then you know something happened, right? Whereas if you put it on the bike and you test and then you test it afterwards, you go, geez, you know, they must have sent me a piece of crap, right? But if you test it before you put it on the bike and you know it works, and then you go to put it on the bike and it doesn't work, you know, okay, what did I do? I left something unplugged, a wire disconnected, you know, just something, you know, something I did, right? And it's very easy to usually find your mistake. But, and I got tons of support docs for that too, but, you know,
And
that's the big thing.
That's one of the things that I think I need to do personally is to create some type of manual, like, you know, first use manual, first use checklist or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that can go a long way in, you know, preventing the call, as I put it, the call of this isn't working, that isn't working. And sometimes it can be just so simple that if you would have just had it in black and white, you know, expect X, Y, Z, or if such and such isn't happening, check this, or, you know, but it takes a lot of time to develop troubleshooting a troubleshooting guide or anything like that. But I mean,
Right.
it's still like the way that you did the installation video. I'm like, you pretty much almost, I would say probably 80% of your bikes will install. And even I like how you troubleshoot the freewheel issue and added the washers and everything, because some people will try to ride that bike and the freewheel is scrubbing the frame or is seized up, or, you know, there's a lot
Well,
of.
you know how that all comes about? You know, the videos, well, especially the facts. You know, people write me so much, it's unbelievable. And they ask me the same questions over and over again. They ask me, like, how fast does it go? What does it weigh? How much is the shipping? You know, when can I get it? You know, how do I pay? Right? So after answering these questions thousands of times, I just started throwing them into my FAQ. And when I first made my FAQ, it was like 120 questions. And that was years ago. And now it's only like 161 questions. So there's 161 original questions that people will ask you. And the same with the videos. People say, well, you know, how do I hook up to the controller? How to make it connect? Well, people ask me so many times, well, you know, I'm just going to make a video. And then I just send them the link to the video.
Yeah.
And people will send me a list of like 10 questions and I'll send them 10 links. And some people think I'm an asshole because I do that, right?
No.
But meanwhile, I'm giving them years of knowledge in a nutshell. Just go look at it.
I mean, I mean, I don't think that's, it's the thing that I know is that even if you created the documentation for them to read, they don't want to read.
That's right.
You know, so it's like I said, that's why I prefer.
Can I give you a perfect example of that?
What's that?
The biggest question that people ask me every day, at least half the people will ask me, how much is the shipping? And I say, well, you know, the answer is, it depends on where you live, how fast you want to get there, you know, what method you're going to use to ship it, how much it weighs, what you're actually ordering. So I'll tell you what, if you need a Magic Pi, here's the method. You add a Magic Pi to your cart, you view the cart. At the bottom, it says get shipping and tax estimate. You click that button and put in your postal code or zip code. And that's it. And people won't do it. They get mad at me and they hang up on me and they won't talk to me anymore.
You know, and they swear you're getting smart with them, but It's calculated. I don't know the shipping quotes off the top of my head. You know, at least for my
Exactly.
stuff, at least for my items, it's flat rate shipping for me. But with these
Every zip
things,
code is different.
yeah, you know, East Coast is, I mean, West Coast for you may be cheaper than it, you know, is to ship something to
Oh,
the East Coast.
even if you live in town or outside of town,
Yeah.
every shipping, every postal code is different. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, they figure all that out.
I mean, it's like I said, it's just amazing. But you know what's the thing? The
Here's
entitlement.
another good example. The other day, a gentleman called me, okay, and he asked me. He says, "I have a VEC 500 controller. I have a 10 kilowatt motor, and I'm pushing the throttle, and nothing's happening." And I can't remember what he was saying. It would go halfway down the throttle, and it wouldn't go anymore. And then if he put it slower, you know, it was just an odd thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I said to him, you know, I don't know the answer. But if you go to our forum, the Golden Motor Forum, the guy who runs that forum is a genius. His name is Alan. If you ever go there, look up Alan and read his posts backwards from, you know, most current to, you know,
Yeah.
it'll blow your mind how he answers the simplest questions. So anyway, I tell this guy, go to the forum and ask Alan what he thinks. He was so rude. He hung up on me. He called me back. He told me, you're a Golden Motor dealer and you won't help me in this and that. And I said, I don't know the answer, but I am trying to help you. And he swore at me. He hung up on me. He called me again and swore at me and hung up on me. And you know what? That guy would have had his answer, but he wouldn't take the advice.
It's like like you said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like you said, you had an announcement? Are you ready to do that, or are you just going to wait a little bit?
Oh no, I got to wait on that. You know, yeah, I got to wait a little bit on that one. But you know, well, let's just say there's new product coming. Let's put it that way.
Oh, like
That's all I can really say.
this off
I'm
the
tied into what do they call that? A non-disclosure agreement.
Oh,
I
dang,
think that's what they call it. You know.
dang! I was going to
So
say
I can share information and I can help develop things in that, but I can't say anything about it. But if you've noticed, quite a few motors in a row, I've been the one who has it first, and I've been the one who makes the announcement. And there's a reason for that, because I'm part of it. So I can't really say anything before it's time.
That's totally understandable. I mean, you don't want to bite the hand
Let's
that
just say I'm
feeds.
excited about it.
Man, I mean, I hope you're excited about it because I mean, if it's something that's game changing or something
Oh
that's
no,
uh,
no.
uh,
We're just adding. We're adding. Put it that way. We're adding. There's more things to come.
honestly, there's one motor that I would like to see. We nickname it the Mammoth, but it'll probably a golden motor will probably never make it. But it's just as tall as the Magic Pi, but twice as wide.
Right.
That's what we would love to see. Basically, a double wide Magic Pi, but we know that might not happen. And you know, but I mean, like I said, I'm a power junkie. I like after I would say after about 2010 is when I started going up to like 3 kilowatt and higher. You know, my current bike is 6 kilowatts now, so I'm the speed power junkie, but I'm
Well,
still impressed with what the Magic Pi had to offer, at least when I used it. So
if you looked at my e-bikes on the website, you can see that blue and white mountain bike I have with 3 motors going. Nothing beat that across an intersection. No car could beat me across an intersection with that bike. And I love that bike. And I love all my bikes, you know. The one I ride the most on a daily basis is the one on the top, the red and white one.
yeah,
It's got a Magic Pi on the back now, a Magic Pi 4. Those bikes always change from the pictures, but that's my favorite. The 29er. It's a mountain bike. You go on and off curbs everywhere. Just
yeah,
love it. And I made my own rack on the back, so I could put 2 batteries, one on each side, down low.
yeah,
You know. But my favorite to take to trade shows is that chopper I have, the second one there,
yeah.
because everywhere you go with that bike, people want to talk to you. Right? People just love it. And you park it somewhere, you come back, and there's people standing around looking at it. You know?
Uh,
My experience with the e-bikes, you know, there's so many different styles, and a lot of people just stick with one style. I love them all, you know. I love them little mini motors that you can pedal, and there's no resistance, and then when you
yeah.
want to go, you just hit the throttle, and off you go, and I love it all. That's why I have 6 bikes, I guess.
I mean, I honestly, like I said, I like high power because, like, you know, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and so one, there's nothing flat in Atlanta, and
Yeah,
also you have people that will run you off the road. So whenever you're able to jump the light and take the lane, you know,
yeah, yeah,
to prevent you from getting ran over, then that's
yeah.
always a plus. And so that's why I tend to like higher power. But the thing is, once you jump the light and take the lane, the power that you need to maintain that speed is relatively kind of insignificant.
Really?
You still
Yeah,
you just but you need that edge to get out in front. And like you said, nobody can really jump unless they're really trying and they have like some Porsche or they have like the Tesla with the 2.8 second insane mode or something. You know, nothing can really beat me at the light. And I got videos showing that, you know, I'm jumping the light and getting 4, 5, 6 car lengths and maintaining that, you know, quite easily.
yeah.
But it's that's
Well,
the
it sounds like you're bragging now.
I mean, but you need that for safety, though. I mean, it's because
I hear you. Everybody's got their own opinion of what it should be. You
I
know,
mean, honestly,
myself. Well, you know what I do now? I retired from the day job, so I'm in no rush anymore. It don't matter when I get there anymore. I love it. I get up when I want. I go to bed when I want. It's great. Of course, I still have to run this business around the clock, but this business can run when I'm awake. But you know what I like when I ride my bike is these new laws that, you know, we had to fight for the laws in Toronto here because all the cyclists that were building, the city's building all these lanes for the bicycles,
uh-huh.
and the cyclists were against the e-bikes riding in those lanes. And Mississauga, I live just outside of Toronto in a city called Mississauga. They let us ride on any trail we want with an e-bike as long as it's 88 pounds or less. And that's the way it should be because now you've got something that's like a bicycle with a motor and a battery, and they leave you alone. You can ride anywhere. But Toronto said no. So we ended up, you know, we formed this organization called TERA, T-E-R-A, the Toronto Electric Riders Association. And we took these idiots on, excuse my language, but, you know, that's what they are. We took them on. We went to City Hall, and we overturned this law, the stupid law they had against e-bikes. And now e-bikes are allowed anywhere on all the trails and everything as long as they're 88 pounds or less. And they're allowed to ride in the cycle tracks that are on the road as long as any size of e-bike. And that's the way it should be, you know. So now when you say you're like 6 kilowatt and, you know, you're beating the car across the intersection, I'm the guy with the bike on the trail, just pedaling along 12, 15 kilometers an hour, just enjoying life. That's what I like about the e-bike now.
But honestly, I do believe there is a bike for every purpose. Like I do have 3 bikes. I have one bike that has like a Crystal like 4060. It's not made for speed. It's the middle of the road. Maybe get to 30 if I'm lucky. I have a BBS02 Bafang mid-drive. That's the pedal bike that I take on the pedestrian multi-use trails
Nice.
that does 25 and you can pedal along. And then there's my street / speed bike if I'm playing in traffic or, you know, or out of town or something and I want to leave my cart somewhere but still be able to get around without dying. You know? So there's a place for every bike. You know,
Yeah, I hear you.
I,
You know what? My 29er, I get all 3 of those bikes in one just using the cycle analyst. Because you can just change from mode 1 to mode 2 or mode 3, right?
Honestly, I have actually my speed bike. I have a video on my YouTube page where I program the cycle analyst for the 3 speeds. And I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
one that's legal, 20 miles an hour, 1,000 or 1,500 watt. Then I have one for 3,000, and then I have the other one that's unlimited. So I can actually, and also I just installed a pass sensor on it. It's kind of like, really, did you put a pass sensor on this? But it actually feels great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
went the thumb sensor route. I put the thumb sensor in the bottom bracket. And you know
actually,
what? It's really something. I love it.
I
The harder you
used
push, the harder it goes.
I used the other one, the cheaper one. On the
Yeah.
when I had the Magic Pi with that, is it the TCDM or TDCM? The
Yeah,
cheaper
yeah.
one that's with Grin. I use that one and I like that one a lot. But it's typically if I'm going that route, I would like to also have a 60 tooth chainring. So
Yeah.
just so I can get that
Well,
speed, you know.
yeah, mine I have 20 kilometers an hour and 350 or, yeah, I think it's 300 watts, 20 kilometers an hour, 300 watts for on the bike path, because that's all you need. to go
Yeah,
20
yeah,
kilometers an hour. And that's the rule on the path is 20 kilometers an hour. So that's what I do. And then on the street, 32 kilometers an hour. Of course, I'm in Canada. It's, 20 miles an hour in the States, right?
yeah,
And then I have my all-out setting, which I climb the hills within the bush on the way home from work,
yeah.
which I don't have to do anymore. But
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. So it's like, yeah,
that's right.
don't want to be that person doing 30, 40 on the trail. That's just stupid. Even though the Lycras do it, do 30 on the trails. Even though they do it, I don't do it. I don't try to attract attention to myself. I'm just doing.
Just going down the trail the other day, I see this little kid running behind the stroller, behind his mom, and he's wandering side to side, just slow right down and go real wide around him, maybe 10 kilometers an hour, right?
Yeah,
Pretty wide path, eh? And just as I got up to him, two Lycra riders went right in between me and the little kid. Just boom, boom, just like that, from behind me.
it makes you.
Zero respect.
I wouldn't say it makes you look bad, but it makes all cyclists look bad. So,
Oh, man.
um,
Well, I made that video a while ago about how Toronto cyclists say e-bikes are dangerous or whatever. I don't know if you ever saw that one. But that one went to City Hall, and, they looked at that and they said, this is crazy. These guys on e-bikes are going to get killed. We need to do something here.
yeah, I mean, I think the legislation is there. Honestly, like with the legal bikes, like I said, two of my bikes are pretty much near legal. I would still like to get up to some standard of registration, at least for road use. Because like I said, a lot of times I'm taking the lane and riding in the lane because I can keep up with traffic. But I still would like to have some type of protection or something in the legislation, one, so I can get this registered and possibly get insured. But it's like if you,
Well, you can always go, I don't know, your laws are probably different there, but here you can go the low-speed vehicle rule, eh? Or whatever they call it. They have something for that. It's like a moped, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so you can get plates and insurance for a moped. All you got to do is take it to a mechanic and be willing to pay the government all the money they want.
yeah. Like I said, I think there's like certain criteria, like turning signals, this, that, and the other. But yeah, it's still we haven't. There's nobody's on the same page. Like if the main thing is if you have an electric bike and you want to get it registered as a moped or something like that, it has to have a VIN.
Right.
So if it doesn't have a VIN, then it's pretty much some regular
Well, pretty
bike.
much every bicycle has a serial number on the bottom somewhere, or just stamp one into it,
Yeah, I could. You could actually do that now. I think you can actually register. Like you may be able to register a custom frame and get a VIN or something.
I think you turn the bike upside down. There should be a serial number right at the bottom bracket there. I think on every bike there's one there. I don't know. I've only had a few upside down to put the front sensor in, but I've seen that number.
Uh,
It's on Schwinn bikes anyway,
it's like I think it's a lot more to it than just that. It goes.
Yeah.
And here in America, I think it's just
Well, you know
not
what?
necessarily deep.
To me, I'm riding this e-bike because I'm tired of paying the man, and I hate to say it like that because it's a ridiculous slang way, but I'm tired of paying the man. I don't want to pay for the gas. I don't want to pay the taxes. I don't want to pay the insurance. I don't want to pay any of that because you know what? I'm riding a little bicycle around, man. Leave me alone. That's how I look at it, So I don't know. When I first got into this, it was all about the speed, and I understand that, because it's fun. But then, I did have an incident one time, and I hit a van in the side, probably going a street legal speed, about 32, 35K, maybe a little over. And I hit the side of that van because it cut in front of me, claiming that it didn't see me coming. And the side door of that van, I pushed it in so far that they couldn't open it. And I ended up breaking both my ankles, which is the weird thing to break. But the wheel came back to me and hit me in the feet. And after that, I thought to myself, you know what? It's really, I don't have the gear, I used to drive a motorcycle my whole life, and I gave up the motorcycle because I was getting cut off by the cars, and it was dangerous and all that. And then I got back on the e-bikes, and, it's a slower, calmer, more relaxing thing. And, I like it, So I don't see the high speed anymore. I don't want to. I don't need that power, I just need to relax and ride my bike around,
Like I said, I've definitely been through, I wouldn't say a similar scenario. I was in a group ride. Of course, I think it was critical mass or something like that. And so normally, if there's a straightaway and it's clear, I just normally kind of go over to the left and accelerate accelerate to get a better position in the pack. Or somebody went over to the left also and stopped in the middle of the road, and so I end up T-boning them at about 25, a little slightly over the 20-mile-per-hour limit, but I ended up T-boning him. I pringled my wheel. His bike was fine, and he walked away fine. Um, but after that, I just started making sure I'm seen. I go as far as like getting one of those riding vests,
Yeah.
make sure I have lights on both ends, front and rear, so you do see me coming, and I have the illuminator. So
Oh, me too. I got the dual illuminator on the front and the flashing 8 LED on the back.
yeah, I have
You
the
can see
eight.
me.
Yeah, I have the 818 LED in the rear also, and then um, it's just I've had like various spills. Like I remember when I was going up a hill, and I was on a pedestrian trail by myself, and I was going up a hill, and I hit something, and I accidentally goosed the throttle, and it reared the front end reared up. The bike had so much torque that it was able to flip me off, and so I caught myself on my wrist. So all of that weight landed on my wrist, and I ended up fracturing the bone, breaking the bone in my wrist, and had to have a metal plate put in. So it was,
Ouch.
I'm definitely overcautious now.
Yeah.
With as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm definitely very very cautious, and like I said, we all need to be. Anybody that has an electric bike needs to definitely be responsible and look out for others, and don't be that person that ruins it for the rest of us. Um,
Yeah. Well, there's lots of those though.
oh yeah,
There's a guy here that's also on Instagram, and his thing is e-bike to or something. And he takes pictures of people downtown. I guess he lives in the core, and he takes pictures of people on e-bikes every day. And you see them without helmets. One of his most recent pictures is a guy actually has a scooter style e-bike. He has no helmet on, and he has a rope, and behind him is a printer that's on a stand. You know those large printers that companies have.
yeah.
And he's going down the road with his e-bike, dragging one of them giant printers behind him with no helmet.
You
Like,
can't make
okay,
that up.
maybe you're allowed to drag a printer behind you. I don't even know the law on that one, but you don't have a helmet on, so that is against the law here, and you're kind of attracting attention.
Yeah, I make sure I wear my helmet. I mean, like I said, I had a few spills where a helmet came in handy. Like it was, yeah, I would be knocked out if it wasn't for the helmet. So, I try to gear up and protect myself as much as possible.
Well, you know what? I look like a complete dork because I have a safety vest on that's bright orange,
Yeah,
and I have a motorcycle helmet on. It's one of the ones that sit on top of your head, but it's a real motorcycle helmet. People look at me on a bicycle with an orange vest and a helmet on. They think, like, oh yeah,
I,
lunatic or whatever, But hey, I like to be safe. I've been through a lot in my life.
I used to actually have an open face motocross helmet, and like I said, that's the one that actually saved my life quite a few times. But the lining inside ended up dry rotting out. I had it so long, and so I need to actually replace that. But I mean, I still wear the regular Bell Walmart special at the very least. If I'm
Yeah. Well,
going,
I had a Bell Walmart special on, except, I got it at Canadian Tire in Canada. But I was riding on a path one night, and I was trying to get ahead of my friend, and I was way ahead of him, and I looked back, and it's dark. I looked back to see if he was coming, how close he was. And then when I looked in front of me, the path had turned, and I hit a tree head on. The only thing I had time to do was tip my head down and hit it with the top of my head. And
yeah,
I had a helmet on, and I was dizzy. And I split that helmet like you wouldn't believe. It was just destroyed. And then
yeah.
after that, I went to the local bike shop, and I bought a motorcycle helmet. I've worn it ever since.
Well, honestly, after any major accident, you're supposed to throw that helmet away. So, um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
but I went from bicycle helmet to motorcycle helmet because those bicycle helmets, man, you got a heavy guy like me flying behind that helmet. There's going to be a big impact.
I mean, I'm heavy. Like I'm over 300, so I'm a heavy
Yeah.
guy myself. So, do you do anything? While that we're talking about gear, do you do anything for your wrist? Do you have like glove warmers or handlebar warmers or anything like that, or you just don't ride in the off season?
Well, I've looked at all that stuff, but I just bundle up, man. That's it. I just bundle up.
Yeah,
I
I
got,
think I pretty much do the same thing too. I do have one of those, not like the burglar face mask, but the actual cycling masks that you wear.
right.
I normally wear that, and you know,
Well, up in Canada here, we have things called snow machines and snowmobiles. I'm sure you heard of them. And they have masks for snow machines, and they're excellent for on a bicycle in the winter because you can have a good cover over your face with really nice, clean cutouts for your eyes and your nostrils and your mouth and everything like that. Really well-made masks, and they're designed for snow machining. So they're a good face mask to wear in the winter because 20 miles an hour on a 20 below day, that's pretty freaking cold.
well, we don't have anything that I will bike as low as 40 some odd degrees, and even low, and even lower than that. But it's like we don't get much lower than that. So I mean,
I know. Well, I've been through there, man. It seems every time I go through there, it rains, but I've been through there.
what, Atlanta?
Yeah.
You need to come out here and ride the Silver Comet Trail if you ever back down there.
Hey, you know what? I gotta one day. I gotta go for a ride around the world and visit everybody that offered me a beer because I helped them out with their e-bike. Because there'd be a long tour,
I mean, you
and I would
definitely,
love to just go ride on all these trails all over the world that everybody rides on because people send me pictures and it's awesome. I just love it.
like I said,
I really do.
like here we have a 95-mile long paved bike trail that goes from pretty much the heart of Atlanta to like a pretty decent ways into Alabama. So it's
Yeah.
it's a nice trail, and like I said, you're more than welcome here. If you don't want to pay the hotel stay or whatever, we definitely can put you up, and
Yeah.
I can show you some places here. So
Yeah, but I'm just an old married guy with a couple of kids, man. I ain't going anywhere. I'm just gonna go ride my e-bike by the lake.
definitely, honestly, I think we're gonna with my cast, I'm gonna start doing like some three-way chats. So I may ask you a few weeks down the road to kind of be the third wheel, a knowledgeable third wheel.
No
Um,
problem, man. I'd love it. You know what? I'm on the phone all day. I'm on the internet all day, and I'm packing boxes all day. So just call me. I'm doing one of those things, but I can always talk.
All right, man. I mean, I love talking with you, and like I said, I'll give you the link once I edit everything up and kind of cut out these phone rings and stuff like that. I'll edit up, send you the link. But I enjoyed this conversation greatly, and I think everybody else will too. So,
Yeah, man. I love it.
all right, man.
I
Thanks
love
a
it.
lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You take care of yourself, and enjoy the ride. Stay
Yeah,
marine, my friend.
yeah. Same to you.
All right. Bye-bye.